And I walked into the house and said, oh, I just got fired. And my wife looked at me and started crying. And I said, that's okay, we're gonna start a company.
30 years ago, as Houston entered the last decade of the millennium, 7 intrepid men and their families bravely launched an enterprise that none could have predicted its challenges, and it changed their lives forever. Hear their stories as the founders answer questions and reminisce on early challenges and key decisions. All the turning points and pivots that built Costello Inc. into one of Houston's most admired companies and best places to work.
This question is for the old partners? The original ones? Oh, okay. Can you share a moment on the annual fishing trip?
Did you hear that, Blake?
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's Joe Man. Yeah, I definitely have a good moment from it was a client fishing trip. I couldn't tell you what year. We're in Port O'Connor, sitting around the night before the fishing, playing poker, drinking, smoking cigars. And I'm gonna try not to use any names here, but there was a very prominent local attorney in the industry, and one of our clients, a big guy who looks like John Goodman, who decided at the poker table that they would play sumo poker. And so they were playing sumo poker in this little beach house, and they ended up breaking a window we had to pay for at the place. But that was a good one. They've invented a new sport.
Was that the same trip, Ralph, when you and some guys went fishing Saturday afternoon after Friday night? And you didn't come back, and
That was a different trip.
Was it?
Yeah,
Blake and I went out in your boat, and somebody else was, and we went out to see if they was having problems. We got out there, and there was this blue boat off in the distance. I think that's them over there, Snake Island Cove, right?
Very good.
Yeah, and anyway, we cruised around the corner. Closer we got, something looked funny, and there's Ralph's boat, and it's sitting like this.
It was.
I don't know if you, why did you?
Did you ground it?
No, well, not the first time, not when we went in there. The tide was up, and we were catching fish. It was in the fall, and we were catching flounder way back up in there. And so I'd anchored up the boat, and we were all out of the boat, and I wasn't really feeling that well. So I laid down in the boat to take a nap. And when I woke up, the tide had gone out, and the boat was sitting on sand. And I was like, no big deal, it'll come back. Well, it never came back. The tide never did come back up, and
that was one
you
of
guys had to drag us out of there.
I don't remember.
And we called you Captain Hazelwood.
I remember. That was right after the Exxon Valdez.
Yeah.
And then there was the competition for the slugger, which just got totally out of hand.
I think I have that on video somewhere.
Yeah, that was over in Jamaica Beach when we rented that house.
We're staying on a canal, and DVC and Doug
Berg
decided they were going to have a contest to see who could get the slugger, which was a traveling trophy. That's kind of a different story.
Yeah.
And so they were doing cannonballs off the decks of the house into the canal.
They were on the house across the way.
Oh, that's right.
They were on someone else's house.
Yeah,
the
somebody
deck was
else.
higher. That's right, because the deck was up higher. Yeah. And so they're doing that, and Gene is sitting on a cooler. I have this on video someplace. Yeah. He's sitting on a cooler, watching these guys, shaking his head, going, "The slugger, it's become a carnival."
What is your best memory from your time at Costello?
I think the people part of it and the employees that we had and the people that we worked with was a huge thing. I remember more about the people incidents than I do about projects or clients or anything. All the guys that worked with, Manny and Mark and David for me and other guys, Joe May and Steve Betts. I mean, the history there and those guys, I truly enjoyed working with them. And I even enjoyed working with some of the engineers.
I would say my best memories weren't in the office, but probably the ski trips that we would take. And especially early on, it was just the staff, the young guys on the staff, or maybe some of the older guys.
That's where you started the road trip. You drove out there.
Yeah, we started driving, just the guys.
Yeah.
And then when we finally decided to invite clients, which was a big step, but we flew then to Albuquerque.
Yeah, we flew to Albuquerque, and we always went to Red River.
You remember later too, we were at Red River, we'd all go down to that lobby in the bottom, and he'd smoke cigars and drink his $100-something bottle of wine, and I'd have my beer, and he was trying to teach me how to drink wine, and I'd just give him a drink of wine and gulp it down, and he'd get all pissed off. Finally he said, "Blake can have no more of my fine wine." I was gulping it down.
What most people don't realize about the ski trips was there were two groups.
Yes.
And so I headed up one group, and Blake headed up the other group.
The Pasadena group?
The Pasadena group, and we would
Hoity-toity.
Hoity-toity.
hoity-toities. So we drank wine, they drank beer. And so, yeah, it was always kind of interesting.
You went to Joel's Steakhouse, and we went to eat chicken fried steak.
And we all had to go one to that hoity-toity Brett's place.
Oh, yeah, Brett's
They
it was.
drag us
Yeah,
there,
Brett's, yeah.
and they're over there at their table. The hoity-toities, they're drinking wine, sipping it, and sniffing it around, all this nonsense. And then Mike Cox is over there peeling the labels off and putting them in between napkins. He's going to take the labels home. So we peeled our Budweiser labels. Took them over there, so.
They'd had some really expensive liquor and stuff like that, and we super glued all their bottles together.
Yeah.
And they were pissed. We got to the airport the next morning. We were heading back, and I think we had opened all their doors in their room so that it'd be ice cold when they got in there. Anyway, when we got to the airport the next day, they wouldn't acknowledge that there'd been any problem at all.